Good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And you know, there's a lot of talk about white privilege in South Africa and obviously the new term black privilege in South Africa. So what I thought I'd do is unpack for you just a few of the examples of white privilege and black privilege in current day South Africa. So you can be the judge as to which is getting the greater privilege. Now, there's one obvious place to start when it comes to white privilege. And that is that since 1994, the white population has actually gone into a huge amount of poverty, a large percentage of the white population. Now, why has that happened? It's happened because of black economic empowerment, which basically means that through a race-based employment policy, white people pretty well can't get a job in South Africa. But if you're black, easy meat. So that's one. That's one white privilege, if you can call it that. Second one, for those whites who are still kind of making a living, increasing taxes. This ANC government has hugely increased taxes in just about every way it can, including VAT. And why have they had to do that? Because of the enormous amount of corruption that is taking place amongst the ANC and their cadres. Okay, again, hardly a privilege. And the third one, victims of racial slurs in the street. Yep, whites get slurred the whole time, every day. You ask any white South African, they'll tell you. And you know the difference is the South African Human Rights Commission refused to act on those slurs. There's a classic case of that lady who's now behind bars for 2 years for using the K word. And there's that other video where you've got a reverse situation where the police are trying to talk to this African lady who's in a car, and she's giving them a mouthful with, I won't repeat the words, but they are equal to the K word, and that never ever went before the South African Human Rights Commission. Isn't that interesting? But there again, as a fellow who until recently headed up the legal department within the South African Human Rights Commission suggested, that it's only the whites who can actually commit a hate crime. And that was the meaning behind his words. And I've got a video on that which you can listen to. And of course, on top of that, we've got the comments by political leaders like Julius Malema, Jacob Zuma, Andile Nixitama, where they say the most outrageous things to their supporters at political meetings. And of course, once again, the South African Human Rights Commission see nothing wrong with that. That's another case of white privilege. And the fourth area of white privilege is the land grabs by the government. And not only the government, but by squatters who say, oh, that's a nice bit of land, I'll just put my hut up here. And it doesn't matter if it's someone's private land. And this is happening right now throughout South Africa. And again, this is white land that black squatters are just occupying and taking as their own. And the fifth one, which I've put in here, and there's so many other examples of white privilege in South Africa today, but we'll use this one, and that is that in modern day South Africa, this is 2019 South Africa, let's say I just passed my matric with 5 A's and 2 B's, for example, and I wanted to go and be a doctor. Now, pre-1994, I would have just walked in because of my qualifications or my results in my matric. Not so lucky today. Apparently, unless you get 7 straight A's as a white matriculant, you got no chance of getting into a school of medicine. But if you're a black student and you get, let's say, 3 B's and 4 C's, you're a shoo-in. Another example of white privilege. Now, let's talk about black privilege in modern-day South Africa, seeing that we've unpacked just some aspects of white privilege. Firstly, when it comes to black privilege, consider the amount of corruption by politicians and their well-connected cadres, and these cover just about every aspect of governance, including the municipalities, which have completely been driven into the ground, right up to Eskom, which is now 450 billion rand in debt because of corruption and incompetence. Now, despite all this corruption, not one politician, until tomorrow, when Zuma heads in front of a court, but until then, not one politician had gone before the courts, which meant that they felt empowered, but that they felt they could do this stuff and nothing would ever happen to them. So that's one area of black privilege. Second area, which works for every single black person in South Africa, and that is they're all beneficiaries of BEE, Black Economic Empowerment. If they go and apply for a job with very low qualifications, and you've got a white person who applies for the same job with really good qualifications, because of BEE, the white person does not stand a chance of getting that job in modern-day South Africa. But the black person, you're a shoo-in, buddy. Another area of black privilege. Third area. In South Africa, I've talked about how you can be as corrupt as you like as a politician or a cadre, and you never go before the courts, and that is because there are a clear set of double standards when it comes to the court system. And that involves the Hawks, the National Prosecuting Authority, the judicial system, and of course the infamous South African Human Rights Commission. The whole system is steeped against the white person. So that is clearly an area of black privilege. And then a really big one that is really spoken about, and this is the fourth area of black privilege. And again, it's pretty well restricted to the well-connected and the very powerful politicians. And it ties in with BBBEE. And what it is, in effect, is for companies in South Africa to have any chance to do any business with government or certain aspects of business, they need to be BBBEE compliant. And that, of course, includes BEE. Now, both of those policies are racist, black-centric policies. Let's be clear about that. But with BBBEE, which companies have to apply to, they have to sell 51% of their shares to a black person, so that a black person becomes the majority shareholder in that company. And it's really just a stage position. They don't do anything, but they inherit huge amounts of wealth for doing nothing, for spending nothing. But of course, that again is just black privilege. And finally, the fifth area of black privilege, and again, we're just scratching the surface, but it's interesting to understand the difference between white privilege and black privilege. And the fifth area is that to ensure that the white population is persecuted in modern-day South Africa, there are over 100 race-based policies which actually do exactly that. They're all aimed at denigrating and reducing the white population to abject poverty. But of course, that's just another area of black privilege? So you be the judge. I'd love to hear in your comments below as to whether you think that the term white privilege or black privilege best represents the actual situation in South Africa, i.e., who are the real beneficiaries in modern-day South Africa. Can't wait to hear your comments, guys. Now, please, in the meantime, remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, be safe.